What does that mean to you, Black History Month?
It means that that's racism because they don't celebrate White History Month. We don't have it. I'm part Italian. I don't have Italian History Month. So what I think it's doing is perpetuating what this divide is in our nation, quite honestly, because I don't feel like that should be highlighted. I don't think that they should be pushing their agenda on myself because I'm a straight male, I have a wife, and I have children. I don't think that I should have to be bombarded and brainwashed through media, through those months or Pride, Black History. I don't think that's something that should be, dictated to me.
Is it a learning opportunity?
Not at all, because when I was in school, we learned, certain Black leaders, things like that. I don't need to hear it every single year for a whole month.
You are a person of color living in a red state. You are not safe. You are not safe at all. And you're not safe because the president of the United States can do to you whatever he wants. That's right. If you're a person of color in a red state, where the red state isn't going to do anything about what the president says, the president can sign an executive order now, today, saying, yeah, if you live in Texas and you're a person of color, you got to go to color areas only. That's where you got to go. You're allowed to go to color hotels. You're allowed to go to colored approved restaurants, colored approved hotels, and only colored approved places. Places for just white people, you're not allowed. And there's nothing you can do about it. Because you think you could go to a federal court and a judge and say, hey, this is wrong. Strike this down. No. Everybody of color in the entire state would have to file for it to cover everybody. Yeah, that's what the Supreme Court has done now. So I'm telling you, if you are a person of color in a red state, you are not safe. The president can do with you whatever he wants. So tell me, this president can do to you whatever he wants? How safe do you feel?
Very foolish tribalism is starting to take us over, where we think we're all separate from each other. And we have unfortunately elected officials that don't inspire us in the way we want to be inspired. I'm coming from a place now that we're in a very dark place in America, where we have a bully and a thug who is the President of the United States. But it's not just in the US, it's everywhere, everywhere. I read a really moving letter in the New York Times from a gentleman in Hungary, and he was the slippery slope of how this happens everywhere. Authoritarianism takes us all over. We have to be vigilant, we have to be alert, we have to be energetic, we have to be brave, we have to be courageous. And everyone who's watching this in the Spanish-speaking world and elsewhere, we have to be willing to stand up, tell the truth, be honest, and that there's a place in all of our lives for basic kindness, for basic love and understanding.
Go?
Yeah. Okay, you do your job. So somebody puts an EBT card in there, what do you close your eyes? You don't look?
I don't know.
Well, what do you know? So the reason we're here is for your food stamps. You don't have a license to take food stamps here. That white machine on the counter, the White Valor point of sale machine. You're gonna tell me I don't do EBT?
I don't have any machine.
You're sure? Why don't you got your phone, call the owner. Tell him to come on down, we're gonna have a little chat.
And then the extension that they had connected to it?
We'll look at it and see what the AMR is. But if it was in
A small store could generate $1 million in illegal transactions in a year without difficulty at all.
So this is becoming very popular.
Yes, unfortunately it is. How long have you been taking EBT here?
I don't have any.
You don't have EBT. Your sign says you take EBT and you got EBT machine on the counter. And we sent somebody in here earlier today and used EBT.
I don't
please,
know. I
please
don't know about that. I worked them with Kuwait. I didn't have any EBT. I didn't work. I didn't know about the store. I guess.
You know, they're doing a disservice to the legitimate stores that are out there by bypassing the authorization process, and it allows them to commit other crimes using EBT and go undetected.
It sounds like a twisted joke, but it's real. A migrant detention center is being built deep in the Florida Everglades. And it's already being called Alligator Alcatraz. Why? Because state officials claim they won't need much security thanks to the surrounding wildlife, including alligators and pythons. The facility is going up on a former airstrip and will feature massive tents and temporary buildings. Florida expects to spend about $450 million each year to run it and may seek partial reimbursement from FEMA. The controversy exploded after an AI-generated image began circulating shared by the Department of Homeland Security, showing alligators guarding a prison, a direct reference to the actual site. Many saw it as a cruel jab at detained migrants. Florida Attorney General James Othmeier, a strong Trump supporter, has defended the project, saying nature itself will help contain people. But human rights groups are calling it dystopian, inhumane, and morally bankrupt. Follow me for more news, and thank you for watching.
We're seeing what's happening. First of all, we're understanding that the immigrants aren't the criminals. If you look at the statistics, most of the crimes that are committed in this country are by white people, that non-immigrants.
There's now a record of hundreds of 911 calls placed from ICE facilities. These calls were placed from people who were on the verge of death trying to seek help because of horrific conditions they've been kept in. And some of these people are U.S. citizens. Some of these people are here perfectly legally and were detained anyway. For all the people who claim to be pro-life, what does that mean exactly? Please explain it to me. You claim to place such a high value on human life. Is that high value just for wealthy people in the U.S., for white people in the U.S.? Please explain to me, where is the line? I'd really, really like to understand.
I don't care if you're a Republican, if you're a Democrat, if you're an independent, anything in between. Don't matter. I want you to pay attention. I want you to stand back, turn your news off, and pay attention to what's happening. Really pay attention. Really look. We are kidnapping people off the streets. There are millions and millions of people protesting. Millions. We've had political assassinations. We are now at war. And our government is telling us to be careful and look out and be safe, just in case of retaliation. Why? I just don't understand it. Like, how anybody could support what's going on boggles my mind. You know what I mean? Like, gas prices are going up. Grocery prices are still the same. It's expensive to do anything. For what? That's what I don't understand. Like, turn your news off. This isn't about politics anymore. At all. We're at war. And that was like the big thing for a lot of people. I don't want a president that's going to put us in another war. And here we are. And now it's like dangerous to be a U.S. citizen because of retaliation. Why? Like, why are we allowing this? Or why are we supporting this? It makes no sense. Like, if you stand back and really look at what's going on, and I mean that, like, pay attention. Don't pay attention to your news. Like, stand back and say, why is my neighbor out protesting? You know what I mean? Like, what is so important that millions of people are protesting? Think about it. Why is everybody against people being kidnapped? Why is everybody against war? Really ask yourself those questions and try to come to some human conclusion. You know what I mean? This isn't about politics. This is about humanity. It's not that difficult. Y'all take care of yourself. Love you. I don't care if you're a Republican, if you're a Democrat, if you're an independent, anything in between. Don't matter. I want you to pay attention. I want you to stand back, turn your news off, and pay attention to what's happening. Really pay attention. Really look. We are kidnapping people off the streets. There are millions and millions of people protesting. Millions. We've had political assassinations. We are now at war. And our government is telling us to be careful and look out and be safe, just in case of retaliation. Why? I just don't understand it. Like, how anybody could support what's going on boggles my mind. You know what I mean? Like, gas prices are going up. Grocery prices are still the same. It's expensive to do anything. For what? That's what I don't understand. Like, turn your news off. This isn't about politics anymore. At all. We're at war. And that was like the big thing for a lot of people. I don't want a president that's going to put us in another war. And here we are. And now it's like dangerous to be a U.S. citizen because of retaliation. Why? Like, why are we allowing this? Or why are we supporting this? It makes no sense. Like, if you stand back and really look at what's going on, and I mean that, like, pay attention. Don't pay attention to your news. Like, stand back and say, why is my neighbor out protesting? You know what I mean? Like, what is so important that millions of people are protesting? Think about it. Why is everybody against people being kidnapped? Why is everybody against war? Really ask yourself those questions and try to come to some human conclusion. You know what I mean? This isn't about politics. This is about humanity. It's not that difficult. Y'all take care of yourself. Love you.
Trump is now selling migrants as slaves, and not enough people are talking about it. In the last week or so, he struck up a $6 million deal with El Salvador to send 238 Venezuelan migrants to the Siquot maximum security. Claims that they're all criminals and they have criminal records when most of them don't. Once you're sent to Siquot, you are forced to work every single day. You have no other choice. You are forced into slave labor. You only have 30 minutes a day outside of your prison cell. Each prison cell holds around 80 to 100 people, forced to sleep on metal bunk beds without any kind of mattress. The only way you can get out of Siquot is in a coffin. There's no other way you can leave. There's no due process. Once you're sent there, it's over. Trump administration even admitted to accidentally sending an innocent man that had legal documentation from Maryland. He's a father of a little child into Siquot, and then they said, whoops, we can't do anything about it. Maryland court said that they don't have any jurisdiction over El Salvador. Basically, he's stuck there for no reason. I think more people need to talk about the fact that America is literally engaging in slave trade now. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment down below. Make sure you follow me for more news content like this.
All right, I got more dirt on this Stephen Miller creep. Haven't seen anyone else talk about this, and I think Angelinos are going to find it very interesting. He's the White House Deputy Chief of Staff and the architect behind these wicked ICE raids. Here's what I found out on Wikipedia. He was the vice president of a company owned by his family. They own a bunch of real estate, and I went looking at where that real estate's located. They own residential properties in Latino neighborhoods in LA County under the name California Villages. They own properties in Pico Rivera and West Covina. 2,500 residential units throughout Los Angeles County. Now, the reason I say dirt is because this man has designed a very xenophobic, racist program, and yet he was renting out to Latinos in LA, and this program has its fiercest operation in LA. Go check out some of the Google reviews yourself. Look at this one about roach infestation. California Villages. You're telling me this guy is a slumlord from LA? I can't believe it.
It's time to speak up. We have got to stop calling these places where we are holding immigrants detention centers and call them what they are. They are concentration camps. We are getting reports out of my state of Texas that people at family detention centers are having to fight over water because there's not enough to go around. There are babies literally starving and dehydrating to death because we are holding them in conditions that are inhumane. There's no medical treatment. There's not enough food. There's not enough water. And we are allowing this. This is happening on our watch. I would say God forgive us, but he will not. He will not, because forgiveness is predicated on repentance, and this country will not repent. Some of us are cheering it, and most of the others are looking straight ahead, pretending not to see what's going on. Well, I will not look away. I will bear witness to what is happening. And I will say until I have no breath and no strength in me that this is wrong and it must stop. This is not who we are. No, there will be no mercy for us because we know what's happening and we're cheering it or we're refusing to acknowledge it. Go love your neighbor.
The violence of our time is caused by obedience. Throughout American history, the political leaders have always exhorted the American people to be nice and quiet and leave things to them. But when very serious evils confronted the American people, they had to go beyond the congressmen and the senators, and they had to commit civil disobedience, and they had even to break the law. And the abolitionists had to do it, and right here in Boston, they had to violate federal law by trying to bring a slave away from the federal marshals. They had to commit civil disobedience. The labor movement had to do this. They had to violate the law. They had to disrupt things. They had to do all sorts of impolite things. They had the sit-ins of sit-down strikes of 1936 and 37. And only this finally brought that modicum of justice that the labor movement demanded. And the civil rights movement went through the same thing. And you know that Congress did not act on the civil rights laws of 64 and 65 until blacks went out into the streets and made a commotion. They did not do it on the basis of some polite discourse. You know, we have been brought up to believe that the American political system works beautifully. It is democratic. Congress represents us. The president is elected. He represents us. It doesn't work that way. Democracy depends on people speaking out, and in times of great crisis, on people creating a commotion.
White nations! White nations! Now we start the deportation! Now we start the deportation! White nations! White nations! Closed borders! Closed borders! Now we start the deportation! Now we start the deportation! You're on, gentlemen.
What rights have you lost? Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. I'm gonna do this once and only once, because I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you. I know you vote and act exclusively out of self-interest and greed, but there are those of us with souls who don't. I'm a white, straight, Christian-appearing young male citizen from a middle-class family. People who look like me have had the same rights in this fucking country for the last 250 years. And if I shut my mouth right now, I can guarantee you I'd have the same rights for another 250 years. But I'm not gonna do that. I get that you don't care that there are mass federal lowlifes grabbing people off the streets for the crime of speaking their mind. I get that you don't care that this administration has illegally disappeared someone who was here legally and committed no crime to a foreign fucking prison and then made it their policy that they just can't get him back. But I do care. These people have rights and they're losing them. And this isn't policy, it's authoritarianism with a fucking spray tan. If you think I'm not going to use every ounce of the platform that I've somehow acquired and every decibel of my voice to drag every abhorrent thing that this administration does right into the sun, you're fucking wrong. And one more thing for you fucking rat bastards. I can promise you that history will look more kindly on me than it will on you.
So it's official. The Trump administration has just come out and said that emergency rooms no longer have to save the life of women in this country. If you're a man, you will still be required by law to save their life. But if you are a woman and you show up in an emergency room, they can just let you expire. They don't have to perform a procedure that would save your life. That is where we are in this country. They are no longer going to enforce the EMTALA rule. So women all over this country, no matter what state you're in, hospitals are allowed to just send you away and not treat you, because the Trump administration doesn't care about women. And if you can't produce a live child for them, you're completely useless. This is where we are. The Trump administration, every Republican will have blood on their hands because women will now lose their lives all over this country. In emergency rooms, if you show up, they don't have to help you. But if you're a man, well, they got to do everything they can to save your life. But we're worthless to them. That is what's happening in this country. Women are now worthless.
The Gestapo is back, and you're losing your free speech in the United States because this week, I started hiring for contractors to scrub through social media and find any negative comments about their organization. If you have made any negative comments about ICE, you will be placed on a list that includes your name, your workplace, your home address, your phone number, your family, your friends, and your social media handles, as well as any other information that they can find about you. The internet is forever, and nothing ever gets deleted, and that's what they're counting on. They're not only going to be looking at new posts, they're going to be going back as far as they can to find anybody who has made negative comments about ICE, whether it was now or 10 years ago. They're claiming that they need to do this because they've received an influx of violent threats towards their organization. But this will have them functioning just like the Nazi-era organizations that suppressed opposition through surveillance, intimidation, and persecution. If you want to stay updated on the Fourth Reich that is the United States, give me a follow to stay in the loop.
We have some extremely serious news. ICE agents detained a family, including a 6-year-old boy with leukemia. One ICE agent picked up his shirt to brandish a weapon, causing the 6-year-old boy to urinate on himself out of fear. This is a real story, and now the family is suing ICE. Mother and 2 children went to immigration court on May 29th, expecting to make a case for asylum after fleeing Honduras because of threats of violence. Their case was quickly dismissed. ICE agents were waiting outside of the courthouse for them to pick them up. They literally detained them right outside of the courthouse. The 6-year-old boy that was with them has been diagnosed with leukemia and has now missed a medical appointment to be treated for worsening symptoms. This is the part that really gets me. They were crying in fear. One of the agents at one point lifted up his shirt, which displayed the gun that he was carrying. The 6-year-old boy was terrified to see the gun. He urinated on himself and wet all his clothing. No one offered him a change of clothes for many hours. Now, they're suing ICE. A federal lawsuit was filed in San Antonio by the Immigrant Rights Clinic and the Texas Civil Rights Project. This is real, and this is a real story in the United States of America, and now they're fighting back. Spread the word and follow along for more.
So the Trump administration announced that they are ending temporary protected status for 500,000 Haitians in this country. Haitian TPS is now eliminated, right? And now, unfortunately, these Haitian migrants are facing deportation to the island, which is facing all kinds of unrest, turmoil, gang violence, etc. Temporary protected status is a legal status that migrants can obtain if they are eligible, depending on their countries, and if they're designated as places that are unsafe for these migrants to return to. They're given a work permit, protection from deportation, driver's license, etc. The US government says that the environmental situation in Haiti has improved enough that it is safe for Haitian citizens to return home, and that this decision restores integrity in the US immigration system and ensures that TPS is actually temporary. Okay. So I would love for someone to explain to me, if that's the case, if Haiti's environmental situation is now, okay, and it's safe to return to the island, why does the U.S. Department of State warn U.S. citizens to not travel to Haiti, right? A travel advisory. Do not travel to Haiti due to kidnapping, crime, civil unrest, and limited health care. If the situation in Haiti has improved, why don't you take this travel advisory off? Very simple answer, because it's bullshit. Unfortunately, the conditions on the island have not improved. Haitians have contributed so much to this country, to Miami-Dade County in general, to Florida, culturally, socially. They're so hardworking, so family-oriented. They're great people. Haitians are amazing people, right? Very smart people. And now they're facing deportation because the conditions on the island have improved. Bueno, remember, each and every single one of you that voted for this garbage is to blame. You guys are to blame for all the people that are being wrongfully deported, that are being harmed. All of you are to blame for that. Every single person that voted for Donald Trump is to blame for all these things that shouldn't be happening.
So I don't know if you're
keeping tabs, but it's looking more and more like the Trump administration is having people loaded onto cargo planes and dumped, shackled, out of the sky into the ocean, and they are washing up in other countries. Jesus fucking.
So I've been, seeing all the disturbing coverage of the men that have been found hung from trees. I believe Black and Hispanic men. And there's a lot of people afraid. It's been a lot of men making the content. Yeah, it's really scary. But I just want to point something out. Roughly 22% of all unalivings are by hanging, and mostly by men. Because when men unalive themselves, they tend to do it in more, how do I want to say it, painful, sort of abrupt ways. And that's a large number, 22% out of how many men unalive themselves each year. So I'm not saying that there's not something behind this, but I want to remind everybody that this is why we have to talk about universal health care. This is why we have to talk about universal health care that includes mental health coverage. In the event that these 4 men are part of the 22%, and the fact that it's already hard enough for men in our society to even talk about their mental health, let alone get access to help, affordable help, quality help, mental health care. So I just want to bring this into the conversation as well as validate everyone's concerns.
Why are you doing this? I don't understand what the motivation is to rename bases for people who took up arms against their country on behalf of slavery. What possible motivation can there be for this? Who is telling you to do this? Who is urging you to do this?
The veterans and service members across the country who have deployed from Fort Bragg or Fort Benning or Fort Hood or Fort Pickett. There's a legacy, there's a connection to those bases and to those places, to what they trained for there, what they did for, and what they came home back to. And those communities appreciate that we've returned it back to what it was instead of trying to play this game of erasing names.
Hi, veteran here who deployed from Fort Bragg to Afghanistan. Hi, veteran here who went to basic training in Fort Benning. And let me emphatically say from my chest, fuck the name Bragg and fuck the name Benning. My memories of my service, my good times, bad times, all that is not tied to the name Bragg. It's tied to the people I served beside of. It's tied to the people that I made lifelong friends with. It's tied to my service, not to the names of Confederate generals that just so happen to be the names of those bases when I served at them. So while Pete Keg's breath, while WikiLeaks, while the cirrhosis of defense intends to speak for all veterans and all service members, with no due respect, fuck you. Now, I understand there are veterans who agree with him. We are not a monolith. And with those veterans, I completely disagree. But quit getting in front of America and speaking for all veterans as if you're tapped in to fucking what the fuck we all think. I understand there's this fucking idea that all veterans, all service members are just inherently conservative and inherently Republican. Well, inherently understand this. We are fucking not. Some of us value human rights. Some of us value the Constitution that we swore to defend. Some of us value freedom. Some of us value being able to protest and have your First Amendment right. Some of us value the 14th Amendment. Some of us value our oath. Not all of us do. And when Keg's breath says, we are not going to play the game of erasing names. Hey, bro, this you?
I'm pleased to officially announce that the Department of the Navy is renaming the Fleet Replenishment Oiler, formerly known as the USNS Harvey Milk, to the USNS Oscar V. Peterson.
So yeah, eat a dick.
ICE agents
especially the ones who beat the shit out of Narciso Barranco yesterday in Santa Ana, California, in Orange County. 6 of you guys with masks on, no ID, no badges, no names, no identifying insignia. 6 masked men rolled up on him yesterday as he was landscaping at an International House of Pancakes restaurant. Seeing 6 masked men roll up on him like that, he ran. And so you guys tackled him. And then you beat the shit out of him and maced him when he was on the ground. He's been here long enough that he raised 3 sons who were born in the United States, all of whom went on to serve for the United States Marines. So ICE agents, there's some critical information about your jobs right now that I want to make sure that you have. You guys are federal employees. You work for the federal government. You are public servants. Currently, you work for an administration that is willing to let you cover your faces, hide your names, hide your badges, hide your badge numbers. That's not always going to be the case. Your payroll records and your personnel files will outlast you beyond the Trump administration. Someday, we're going to find out how many of you are J6ers, how much time you served in prison, and what charges you received pardons for from a convicted felon. We'll find out how many of you are Proud Boys. We will find out how many of you are Oath Keepers. Someday we will know everything about each and every one of you that we know about every federal employee, public servant whose salaries are paid with taxpayer money. And here's the critical part. 2 things. Last year's Supreme Court decision granting the President of the United States immunity from criminal prosecution after he leaves office for criminal acts that he committed while in office, as long as those acts were official acts. That immunity from criminal prosecution does not extend to any other member of the executive branch. It does not extend to any other employee of the executive branch, yourselves included. I'm guessing Stephen Miller didn't tell you that. It's important that you be aware of that now. Lastly, if you are in the course of your employment right now doing things on a daily basis for which you expect to receive a presidential pardon before Donald Trump leaves office, and some of you already know this, please be reminded that accepting a presidential pardon carries with it an admission that you committed the underlying offense for which you are being pardoned. What you guys are doing today will follow you for the rest of your lives. You can't possibly be dumb enough not to know that. You work for the public. You are paid with taxpayer dollars. Donald Trump's presidency will not last forever. We will see your faces. We will know your names. And we will know which ones of you received pardons for what you did on January 6th and how much time in prison you served. You work for the public. All of that information is not public record now, but it will be, and that day will come sooner than you think. I am making this video to make sure that all of you are aware of the risks that you're taking in working for this administration. He has immunity from criminal prosecution. You do not. Be safe out there. Hope that helps.